You checked your email again today, maybe 3 times, maybe 30. And each time the inbox loaded, there was that split second, that heartbeat of hope before the screen revealed nothing had changed. No response, no next step. Just the same hollow quiet that's been following you for weeks now, settling into your chest like dust on an empty shelf. I see you, and tonight, you don't have to be strong about it anymore. Welcome to Soulnest. This is your safe space, not the kind that demands you be grateful or positive or keep your chin up. This is the kind that lets you arrive exactly as you are, exhausted, disappointed, maybe even a little numb. You've been holding yourself together through every application, we've decided to move forward with other candidates, every comparison to people who seem to have it all figured out. Tonight, you can let that weight down. It's time to come home to yourself. Let's begin by giving your body permission to stop performing. Adjust your pillow so your neck can fully release. Pull your blanket up, not just for warmth, but as a soft boundary between you and the world's relentless expectations. Let it be a shield that says, not tonight, tonight. I rest. Now, bring your attention to your breath. Imagine each inhale as a gentle wind moving through an abandoned room, stirring the dust of job boards and rejection emails, of forced networking smiles and just checking in messages. And each exhale, that's the dust leaving, slowly, quietly, washing it all away, particle by particle, until what's left is just you, underneath the search, underneath the silence, underneath the waiting. Breathe in. I am still here. Breathe out. I don't have to prove it. Somewhere in your home, your laptop is closed. The screen is dark. The tabs you've had open for days, the job boards, the company pages, the LinkedIn profiles of people who got the roles you wanted. They're finally still. Your phone is face down, or across the room, or at least no longer glowing in your hand. The refresh button has been released. The waiting game has paused. This is the moment the day ends, not with triumph, not with answers, but with the small, sacred act of stopping. The ceiling above you holds no expectations. The darkness around you asks for nothing. You have arrived at the edge of night, where your worth isn't measured in callbacks or connections, where you are not your resume, and the only thing required of you is breath. The search is over for tonight, and now we begin. We begin with the silence, not the kind that soothes, but the kind that hums, a low, electric frequency that lives in the space between you and your phone. It is the silence of an inbox that will not speak, the silence of hope held hostage by a notification that refuses to arrive. You know this silence well. You have carried it with you through grocery aisles and coffee runs, through conversations where you smiled and nodded while some part of you remained tethered to the possibility that maybe now, maybe this hour, maybe while I wasn't looking, the email arrived, but it didn't. And so the day suspended itself in this strange, weightless waiting, where time moves both too slow and too fast, and nothing feels quite real because you are living in the margins of your own life, waiting for permission to step back in. Tonight, the screen has finally gone dark. The blue glow that painted your face in the cathedral of your quiet bedroom has faded to black. Your phone rests beside you, cooling glass against the nightstand, its surface still holding the ghost heat of your palm. You have refreshed the page so many times today that your thumb knows the gesture by heart, a ritual performed without thought, a prayer to the digital ether that has yet to answer. But now, in this suspended hour, the scrolling has stopped. The refresh icon is still, and what remains is just you, untethered from the waiting, floating in the vast quiet of a room at 2 a.m. Your shoulders begin to drop, slowly, muscle by muscle, releasing the invisible armor you didn't know you were wearing. There is a specific exhaustion that lives in the body of someone who has spent weeks, months in waiting mode. It is the exhaustion of existing in a perpetual state of almost ready, almost chosen, almost there. It is the weight of tying your worth to the arrival of words you cannot control, of measuring your value by the silence of strangers who hold your future in their hands. But here, now, in the sanctuary of this darkness, the silence shifts. It is no longer the silence of rejection. It is simply quiet, the kind of quiet that holds no judgment, makes no demands. It is not the absence of good news. It is the presence of rest. And rest, you are learning, does not require justification. It does not need to be earned by productivity or validated by success. Rest simply is, and tonight, it is yours. The email you have been waiting for does not exist in this room. The inbox does not follow you beneath these covers. The unread count, the subject lines, the carefully worded rejections, or the maddening absence of response. They live somewhere else, out there, in the world of performance and proof. But here, you are released. Here, the only thing that matters is the rise and fall of your breath, the slow surrender of your body into softness, and the permission you are finally giving yourself to stop checking, stop hoping, stop performing the exhausting ritual of readiness. The waiting is over. For tonight, you are enough, just as you are. And yet, before you arrived here, before you allowed yourself to rest, there was the work, the invisible, relentless work of selling yourself to strangers, the heavy mental load of being a professional applicant, a title no one asked for, a role that requires you to perform enthusiasm for opportunities you're not sure you even want anymore, just because they represent forward motion in a life that feels dangerously still. You know this work intimately. The hypnotic blink of the cursor on a white screen, waiting for you to explain, again, why you are worthy. The blur of job descriptions that all begin to sound the same after the third hour of scrolling. Each one a slight variation on a theme you've already auditioned for a dozen times. The cover letters you've written and rewritten. Each sentence polished like a stone until the words no longer feel like your own. Until you've convinced yourself that passion can be manufactured in Times New Roman, 12-point font, and that somewhere in the careful arrangement of your experience lies proof of your value. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that lives in the body of someone who has spent their days this way. It sits in the dryness of your eyes, the dull ache behind them from staring at screens that glow with possibility but deliver only silence. It lives in the stiffness of your lower back, The way your spine has curved into the shape of the chair, hour after hour. As you fill out forms that ask you to type your work history when it is already attached to the application. When your entire professional life is already summarized in a document they may or may not read. The absurdity of it would be funny if it weren't so crushing. This robotic rhythm of typing your own address for the 1,000th time, of clicking through drop-down menus to categorize yourself, of tailoring your personality to fit the culture of companies you've never set foot inside. And then, the moment you click submit, the hollow silence that follows, the application disappearing into the digital void like a message in a bottle thrown into an ocean that stretches beyond the horizon. You have done everything right. You have performed the ritual perfectly. And still, there is no guarantee, no acknowledgement, just the static hum of waiting and the knowledge that tomorrow you will do it all again. But here, now, in this sanctuary of darkness and softness, you do not need to pitch yourself. You do not need to prove your worth or tailor your story or explain the gaps in your timeline. The night does not require a cover letter. The silence does not demand your qualifications. You are accepted here without an application, without a review process, without needing to convince anyone of your value. Here, you are not a resume. You are not a candidate. You are simply a person who is tired, and that is enough reason to rest. Let the sentences you spent all day arranging dissolve. Let the mechanical performance of professionalism unspools from your body like thread from a spool. Tonight, you are not waiting to be chosen. Tonight, you have chosen yourself, chosen rest, chosen release, chosen the radical act of existing without justification. The work is done, and you are here. But you did not arrive untouched. You carry with you the aftershock of the word no, not the gentle no of a declined invitation, but the institutional, impersonal no that arrives in your inbox with the cold efficiency of a form letter. Unfortunately, we have decided to move forward with other candidates. 10 words, 12 words, however many it takes to say, not you. And though they are just words on a screen, they land in the body like something physical, a blow you didn't see coming, even though you've been bracing for it all along. You know the moment intimately, the brightness of the screen seeming to shift, turning harsh and clinical the instant your eyes find that opening line. The way your stomach drops, not metaphorically, but actually drops. A hollow flutter that moves through your center like an elevator in free fall. Your hands go cold, your breath catches, and for a moment, the air seems to leave the room entirely, as though the space itself has recoiled from the weight of what you've just read. This is the sting, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, tender bruise that blooms somewhere beneath your ribs, invisible to everyone but you. It hurts because you offered them something precious. You offered them your hope, your future, the careful architecture of a life you were trying to build, brick by brick, application by application, and they handed it back to you, unopened. They did not see what you see. They did not need what you have. And even though you understand, logically, that this is business, that hiring is a game of fit and timing and budget and 1,000 factors beyond your control, the heart does not speak in logic. The heart only knows that it reached out, and the hand it found was empty. But here is what the rejection email cannot tell you. A no is not a verdict on your soul. It is not a measure of your worth or a prophecy of your future. It is simply a misalignment. A door closing to keep you safe from a room that was never meant to be yours. You were not rejected. You were redirected. And though that distinction feels thin and fragile in the moment, it is also true. Some doors close not because you are unsuited, but because you are being saved for something that will not require you to shrink or perform or convince. Something that will recognize you without an audition. Tonight, let the sting dissolve. Let the phantom pain of not this time soften into the quiet understanding that you are still here, still whole, still worthy of a future you cannot yet see. The rejection does not live in this bed. It does not follow you beneath these covers. It exists somewhere else, out there, in the world of decisions and strangers. But here, in this sanctuary, you are not a candidate. You are not a resume. You are simply a person who tried, who hoped, who was allowed to feel the weight of disappointment and still deserve rest. The door has closed, but you remain. And yet, in the quiet moments when sleep refuses to come, your hand sometimes reaches for your phone. Not to check email. You've learned that lesson for tonight. But to scroll, to witness the highlight reel, the curated gallery of other people's wins, stripped of their struggles, presented to you in high definition while you sit in the shadows of your own uncertainty. I'm happy to announce the phrase that has become a small knife, not because you begrudge them their joy, but because each announcement is a reminder of the turn that hasn't come for you yet. You know this specific pain, the blue light of the screen illuminating your face in the dark, your thumb moving almost against your will, scrolling through photos of office parties and first day desk setups, new badges and congratulatory comments from people who seem to live in a world where things work out. And with each image, something tightens in your chest, a heaviness that is part envy, part shame, part exhaustion at feeling left behind. Your throat constricts. You want to close the app, to stop feeding the ache, but something keeps you there, watching the party through a window you cannot open, bearing witness to a season that is not yours. Let me say this gently. The jealousy you feel does not make you a bad person. It makes you human. It means you are hungry for your own turn, for your own announcement, for the relief of finally being able to say, I made it, instead of, I'm still trying. The feeling of falling behind is not a character flaw. It is the natural response of a heart that has been holding its breath for too long, watching others exhale into celebration while you remain suspended in the waiting. But here is what the screen does not show you: the facade, the performance, the careful editing of reality into something digestible, something worth posting. You are comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You are measuring your winter against their summer and wondering why you are not blooming. But seasons in nature do not compete. They do not judge themselves for divergence. Spring does not envy autumn. Winter does not apologize for being cold. They simply cycle, each one necessary, each one holding its own quiet work. And you, right now, in this season, are doing the invisible work, the gestation, the tender, unglamorous labor of continuing to try when nothing is guaranteed, of submitting applications into the void, of waking up each day and choosing not to give up even when giving up would be easier. Their timeline is not your clock. Their success does not subtract from your worth. And the life you are building, slowly, painfully, in the dark where no one is watching, is no less real because it has not yet been announced. You are not behind. You are simply on a different path, walking at a different pace, and the destination does not disappear just because you cannot see it yet. Tonight, put the phone down. Let the spectacle fade. Let the comparison dissolve into the darkness where it cannot follow you. Here, in this sanctuary, there is no highlight reel. There is only you, unfiltered, unperformed, enough. And yet, even now, even as your body begins to soften into the mattress, your mind has a habit of leaving, of slipping out from under the covers and wandering into the gray mist of next month, next year, the uncertain terrain of what if. This is what they call future tripping, the mind's restless journey into a place that does not yet exist, constructing scenarios that dissolve like sugar in water the moment you try to hold them. The anxiety of not having a roadmap, the fear of standing at the edge of your life with no clear path forward, only the vast, unknowable horizon stretching out before you like an ocean without a shore. You know this fear intimately. It is the physical sensation of bracing, muscles tensing as if preparing for impact, shoulders rising toward your ears, jaw clenching against some invisible blow. It is the feeling of trying to grasp smoke with your hands, reaching for certainty in a world that offers none, attempting to control the uncontrollable simply because not knowing feels more dangerous than the hardest truth. Your mind builds bridges over rivers it hasn't reached yet, rehearsing conversations that may never happen, solving problems that haven't arrived, catastrophizing outcomes as though preparation could prevent pain. But here is what the primitive brain does not understand. The fog is not a wall. It is simply a weather condition, a temporary obscurity that hides the path without erasing it. Imagine yourself standing on that path now, not in some distant, frightening future, but here, in this present moment. The ground beneath your feet is solid. You can see one step ahead, maybe two. The rest is wrapped in soft, gray mist, and yes, you cannot see where it leads, but you do not need to see the whole staircase to take the next step. You do not need to clear the fog to be safe. Humans crave certainty. We want to know how the bills will be paid, where we will be in 6 months, whether this struggle has an expiration date. The not knowing feels unsafe to the part of us that evolved to scan for danger, to plan for scarcity, to survive. But survival and peace are not the same thing. And tonight, here in this sanctuary, you are being asked to practice something radical, unclenching your grip on the future, releasing the illusion of control, letting the mind return from its anxious wandering and anchor itself here, in the only moment that actually exists, this breath, this softness, this bed. The future will arrive when it arrives, not a moment sooner, and when it does, you will meet it then, with whatever resources and strength you have in that moment. But right now, you are not standing on a precipice. You are lying down. You are held. The mattress beneath you does not require a 5-year plan. The darkness does not demand proof of your next steps. You are safe in this present moment, even if the future remains obscure. Let the fog be fog. You are here, and here is enough. But there is something else you carry into this bed with you. Something heavier than the rejections and the waiting. It is the invisible stopwatch. The one that started ticking the moment you were born, measuring your life against a timeline you never agreed to. It whispers in the dark. By this age, I should have. It counts the months of unemployment like a debt accumulating interest. It compares your trajectory to some illusory standard, some fictional map drawn by strangers who never walked in your shoes. And it tells you, with cruel certainty, that you are behind, that you are running a race everyone else is winning. That time is slipping through your fingers like water, and that every day without a job is a day wasted, a day lost, a day you can never get back. You know this pressure intimately. It is the heaviness in your stomach when you think about where you thought you'd be by now, the milestones you haven't reached, the boxes you haven't checked, the life that looks nothing like the one you imagined. It is the sight of the calendar on the wall, each month turning like a page in a book you're not ready to close. It is the rhythmic, relentless movement of the clock's second hand in the dark, ticking forward while you feel frozen in place. It is the sensation of running on a treadmill, moving fast, exhausting yourself, and yet going nowhere. Behind, always behind. But here is the truth that the stopwatch cannot tell you. Behind is a relative term. Behind whom? Behind what? Life is not a ladder to be climbed at a prescribed pace. It is not a conveyor belt where everyone moves at the same speed toward the same destination. The timeline you are measuring yourself against, the one that says you should be married by 25, promoted by 30, financially secure by 35, was drawn by people who do not know you, who do not know your story, who could never account for the detours and pauses and moments of necessary stillness that make a life uniquely yours. You are not a train running late. You are not failing to keep pace with some cosmic schedule. You are a person living a life, and life does not move in straight lines. It spirals. It meanders. It pauses for long stretches and then suddenly accelerates. It takes you through seasons of growth and seasons of quiet gestation, and both are equally necessary. The garden does not bloom all at once. Some seeds lie dormant in the soil for years before they break through the surface. That is not delay. That is the rhythm of becoming. Tonight, let the stopwatch stop. Let the arbitrary milestones fade. You are not out of sync with your life. You are simply living it at the tempo your soul requires. There is no race. There is no behind. There is only here, now, and the quiet unfolding of a story that has not yet finished being written. You are exactly where you are meant to be, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. But there is a question that haunts the silence of this in-between space, a question that arrives at dinner parties and family gatherings, in chance encounters at the grocery store, and in the blank space on forms that ask you to define yourself in a single line. So, what do you do? And suddenly, you are naked, unmoored, floating without the tether of a title to anchor you to the world. Because for so long, the answer to that question was not just a description of how you earned money, it was proof that you existed. Marketing manager, software engineer, project coordinator. The words were scaffolding, holding up the entire cathedral of your identity. And now, without them, you're left standing in the ruins, wondering, who am I when I am not what I do? You know this panic intimately. It is the moment of hesitation, the stutter in your voice when someone asks the most common question in the world, and you have no clean answer. It is looking at a box of old business cards that bear your name and a title that no longer applies. Each one a ghost of a version of yourself that feels both recent and impossibly distant. It is the blank space on a form where it asks for your occupation, and your hand hovers, uncertain, because unemployed feels like an accusation rather than a status. It is the sensation of taking off heavy armor and realizing you've forgotten what your body feels like without its weight. You are light now, but in a way that feels terrifying, like floating without gravity, like existing without proof. We have been taught to conflate who we are with how we earn money. The job title became shorthand for worth, for purpose, for visibility in a world that often only sees labor. And so, when the title is stripped away, we fear that we have been stripped away too. That, without the label, without the bullet points on the resume, without the answer that satisfies strangers at parties, we are invisible, less than, a silhouette with no substance. But here is the truth. The silence is trying to teach you. You are not your job. You never were. The job was a coat you wore. It was never your skin. You are the one who listens to music and feels something shift in your chest. You are the one who tastes coffee in the morning and watches light move across the wall. You are the one who dreams, who loves, who carries memories and hopes and fears that have nothing to do with productivity or performance. You existed before the first job title. You will exist after the last one. And in this quiet, terrifying, sacred space between, you are being given the rare and painful gift of remembering what lies beneath the construct. The cathedral of identity you built out of paper titles. It was never the foundation. It was just decoration. The ground beneath it, your actual soul, your intrinsic vastness, that was there long before the first brick was laid. And it remains, unshaken, whole, tonight. Let the armor rest. You are not a human doing. You are a human being, and that has always been enough. And yet, even now, even as you lie here in the dark, there is a voice, a restless, insistent voice that refuses to be quiet. It is the guilt of rest, the whisper that says you should be doing something, researching companies, perfecting your resume, reaching out to one more contact, optimizing this very moment of stillness so that tomorrow you can be sharper, faster, better. It is the voice that treats sleep like a task to be completed efficiently, not a refuge to be savored. It tells you that rest is only acceptable if it serves productivity, that you are only allowed to lie down if you've earned it. And tonight, exhausted as you are still trying to sleep productively. as though there is a right way to surrender. You know this feeling intimately. It is the mental to-do list projected onto the ceiling in the dark, glowing like subtitles you cannot turn off. It is the physical twitch of your body wanting to jump up, to check one more email, to do one more thing before you allow yourself the luxury of stillness. It is the sensation of your brain spinning like a hard drive fan that won't turn off, processing, calculating, optimizing, refusing to power down even when the body is begging for mercy. There is a buzzing, static energy in your chest that stands in sharp contrast to the deep, velvet stillness of the room. The world is quiet, but you are not. Because you have been taught that stillness is laziness, that rest is something to be rationed, metered, justified. We have learned to treat ourselves like machines, to quantify our worth by our output, to measure rest not as a basic human need, but as a battery charge, something we do only so we can return to work, so we can produce, so we can once again be useful. We have learned to monetize our breathing, to turn every hour into a currency to be spent wisely, fearing that a moment of idleness is a moment lost, a moment wasted, a moment that could have been leveraged into something of value. And so, we lie here, in the only place where productivity should hold no power, and we are still trying to optimize, still trying to be efficient, still unable to simply be. But you are not an appliance. You are not a machine that needs to justify its downtime. You do not need to earn your rest through labor. Rest is not a reward for productivity. It is the foundation of your humanity. And tonight, you are being invited into something radical, sacred idleness, the kind of rest that serves no purpose, produces no output, yields no measurable result, the kind of rest that simply allows you to exist, unmonetized and unquantified, like a field-lying fallow so the soil can remember what it means to be alive. Let the to-do list fade, let the guilt dissolve. Tonight, you have permission to be beautifully, blissfully, unapologetically unproductive. You have permission to exhale without a plan, to rest without an agenda, to simply be here, breathing, existing, enough. But there is one more weight that refuses to be set down, one more burden that follows you into this sanctuary and spreads itself across the ceiling like a ledger. It is the 3 a.m. math, the cold, sharp anxiety that turns the darkness into a mental spreadsheet. Your mind becoming a calculator that runs endless loops of subtraction, rent minus savings, grocery bills minus the dwindling balance, the due date circled in red on a calendar that feels like it's moving too fast. The numbers glow in the dark, uninvited, transforming this warm refuge into a cold courtroom where you are both the accused and the judge, guilty of the crime of not having enough. You know this fear intimately. It is the ceiling transforming into columns of figures you cannot escape. It is the physical sensation of survival anxiety, a knot pulled tight in your solar plexus, a coldness spreading through your gut like ice water. It is the feeling of holding a heavy stone on your chest that makes it impossible to inhale fully, as though the weight of financial precarity has taken up physical residence in your body. This is not the abstract worry of distant futures. This is the primal fear of scarcity, the ancient panic that whispers, "What if there is not enough? What if I cannot survive? And let me say this clearly, without platitudes. This fear is valid. It is not greed. It is not weakness. It is the body's most fundamental alarm system, the part of you that has been calibrated for millennia to ensure survival. Money is not abstract when it determines whether you can eat, whether you can keep a roof over your head, whether you are safe. And so you lie here, exhausted, trying to rest. But your mind refuses because the arithmetic doesn't add up, and the body believes that staying vigilant, calculating, planning, worrying might somehow protect you from the vulnerability of not knowing how you will make it through next month. But here is the difficult truth. Worrying tonight adds zero currency to your account. It does not accelerate the arrival of a job offer. It does not multiply your savings or stretch your resources. It only extracts the one thing you cannot afford to lose right now: the energy you will need tomorrow to solve the problems that actually require solving. You are trading your peace for a sense of control that is merely an illusion, exhausting yourself, balancing invisible books in the dark when the bank is closed and the numbers will not change until morning. So tonight, just for these hours, imagine setting the heavy stone down. Picture yourself standing at the threshold of this room and placing the financial worry outside the door. Not abandoning it, not pretending it doesn't exist, but suspending it. Agreeing with yourself that from now until sunrise, the ledger is closed. The calculations can wait. The fear of scarcity, as real as it is, does not need to sleep in this bed with you. You cannot solve solvency in the dark, but you can rest. And rest is the only currency that matters right now. But there is another currency you have been trading in, one that has left you just as depleted, just as hollow. It is the currency of approval, the addiction to validation, the deep, aching need for someone else, a recruiter, a hiring manager, a system designed to filter and assess, to look at you across a desk or through a screen and say the words you have been desperate to hear. You are good enough. You have been standing in doorways of strangers, holding out your self-worth like a fragile object, waiting for them to weigh it, to appraise it, to tell you whether it has value. And each time they do not choose you, each time the silence stretches where the yes should have been, you feel yourself becoming transparent, invisible, as though you do not fully exist until someone with the power to hire you confirms that you do. You know this hollowness intimately. It is the physical emptiness in your chest when the praise doesn't come, when the callback doesn't arrive, when you are left standing on a silent stage in an empty auditorium, waiting for applause that isn't coming. It is the sensation of having handed a stranger the key to your own house and then standing outside in the cold, waiting for them to decide whether you are allowed back in. You have externalized your worth. You have given gatekeepers the power to define you. And in doing so, you have forgotten the most fundamental truth. Their verdict is not the truth. Their assessment is not a measure of your value. It is simply their decision, shaped by budgets and biases, and 1,000 factors that have nothing to do with who you actually are. We have been taught to act like empty vessels waiting to be filled by the approval of institutions. We have learned to treat ourselves like merchandise weighed in to be purchased as though we are incomplete until someone decides we are worth the investment. We stand there, polished and prepared, performing our worthiness, begging them to see us. But here is what we forget. The diamond does not lose its worth just because the jeweler hasn't looked at it yet. The tree does not need a gardener to confirm that it is a tree. And you do not need a hiring manager to validate your existence. Your worth is not something that can be bestowed or revoked by strangers. It is intrinsic. It was there before the first application. It will be there after the last interview. And every time you hand it over to someone else to appraise, you are giving away your sovereignty, outsourcing the one thing that should never leave your possession, the knowledge that you are enough, regardless of who sees it. Tonight, take the key back. Reclaim the fragile object you placed in their hands. Your value does not live in their inbox. It does not echo in their conference rooms. It lives here, in this body, in this breath, in this moment where you exist fully and completely, with or without their stamp of approval. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are already whole. But somewhere along the way, you learned to hide that wholeness. You learned to replace the real, complicated texture of yourself with something smoother, shinier, more palatable. You learned the performance, the exhausting choreography of becoming the perfect candidate. The version of you that is always enthusiastic, always resilient, always pivoting challenges into opportunities, whose biggest weakness is that you care too much or work too hard. You have rehearsed the elevator pitch until the words no longer feel like yours. You have practiced smiling in the mirror, modulating your voice to sound confident but not arrogant, passionate but not desperate. You have flattened the three-dimensional complexity of your humanity into two-dimensional buzzwords. Synergy, proactive, dynamic, team player. You know this exhaustion intimately. It is the physical ache in your jaw from smiling when you didn't mean it, from holding your face in an expression of eager professionalism for hours at a time. It is the tightness in your throat from using your interview voice. That slightly higher pitch, that carefully calibrated tone that never quite sounds like the way you talk to people you actually trust. It is the feeling of wearing a costume that is just a size too small, tight across the shoulders, constricting around the chest, so that every movement requires effort. Every word requires translation. You have curated the architecture of your answers, building a version of yourself that is bulletproof and glossy, a veneer so carefully polished that no one can see the fingerprints. And behind it all, the real, soft human, the one who is uncertain and tired and doesn't have all the answers, remains trembling behind the curtain, waiting for the performance to end. But here is the truth. You've been too afraid to say out loud. You are tired of auditioning, tired of flattening yourself into a script someone else wrote, tired of performing passion for roles you're not even sure you want, just because forward motion feels better than stillness. You have spent so long policing your own words, terrified of saying the wrong thing, of revealing too much vulnerability, of letting them see that you are not, in fact, always confident, always clear, always certain of where you'll be in 5 years. You have dismantled your own spontaneity. replaced improvisation with rehearsed responses, and somewhere in the process, you forgot what your own voice sounds like when it isn't being monitored for professionalism. Tonight, in this backstage quiet, you can take off the costume, you can wipe off the makeup, you can drop the rehearsed smile and let your face rest in whatever expression it naturally wants to hold. Here, in this bed, there is no interviewer. There is no panel judging your answers. There is no need for a star method response or a carefully crafted narrative arc. You don't need to be polished. You don't need to have it all figured out. You can be messy, uncertain, unscripted. You can just be a person, and that person deserves to rest without performing even in sleep. But there is one more thing that haunts you, one more piece of evidence you carry like a scarlet letter. It is the white space, the gap, the dates on your resume that end, followed by a silence that feels deafening. That stark, unforgiving blank where your career chronology breaks, where the unbroken line of employment suddenly stops, leaving a caesura you feel desperate to explain, to justify, to fill with something, anything that makes it look intentional. You have stared at that PDF, at the empty months stretching between one position and the next, and you have felt the panic rising. What will they think? How will I explain this? What if they see this silence and decide I am damaged, unreliable, no longer viable? You know this fear intimately. It is the sensation of holding your breath, waiting to exhale but terrified that the exhale will expose you. It is the frantic energy of trying to patch a hole in a wall, scrambling to invent consulting projects or freelance work or professional development courses. Anything to cover the void, to make it look like you were still producing, still valuable, still moving forward even when you were standing still. We have been taught that continuity equals competence, that an unbroken timeline is proof of stability, and a gap, any gap, looks like a flaw, a scar, a mistake. We are terrified that the silence on the page will be read as absence, as failure, as a period of nothingness that diminishes everything that came before and taints everything that comes after. But here is what the resume cannot show. The white space is not a void. It is not an abyss. It is a clearing. In music, the rest, the deliberate silence between notes, is what gives the melody its shape, its meaning. Without the pause, there is only noise. In nature, the field must lie fallow to become fertile again. The soil works hardest when it appears to be doing nothing at all. It is in the dormant season, the quiet winter, the intermission between acts, that the ground replenishes itself, that the roots grow deeper, that the seeds buried beneath the surface undergo the invisible gestation required for spring. This gap in your career is not evidence of your inadequacy. It is not proof that you stopped mattering. It is simply a period where the external markers of productivity paused while something else, something harder to quantify, was happening beneath the surface. Perhaps you were healing. Perhaps you were learning what you actually wanted instead of what you thought you should want. Perhaps you were surviving a season that required all your energy just to endure. And that work, though invisible, though impossible to list in bullet points, is no less real than any job title you've ever held. Tonight, stop trying to fill the gap. Let it be what it is. Not emptiness, but space. Not absence, but intermission. Not a scar, but a sanctuary where you were allowed to stop performing and simply exist. The gap does not define you. It held you while you healed. But there is one final confusion that needs to be untangled before you can truly rest. It is the dangerous equation you have been solving in the dark. The one where you look at the glowing numbers on your banking app, green or red, climbing or falling, and mistake them for a measure of your humanity. It is the price tag. The habit of treating your bank balance like a scorecard, as though the digits on a screen could possibly quantify the vastness of who you are. You have confused net worth with self-worth, and in doing so, you have allowed a paycheck, or the absence of one, to determine how much space you feel entitled to occupy in the world. You know this shame intimately. It is the physical sensation of shrinking when the balance is low, as though your body itself becomes smaller, quieter, less substantial. It is the way you hesitate before speaking in a room full of employed people, as though your opinions carry less weight when you cannot attach a salary to your name. It is the moment you check the app in the dark and watch the numbers stare back at you like a judgment, like a verdict on your value as a human being. And in that moment, you feel yourself being liquidated, reduced, turned into a commodity that can be appraised and found wanting. Society has taught you to treat money as the ultimate scorecard, the final proof of whether you matter. And when the salary stops, when the income dries up, you are left standing in the marketplace of your own mind, believing that you have zero value because you have zero balance. But here is the absurdity we must confront. You are trying to measure the ocean of a human spirit using the teaspoon of a monthly paycheck. You are attempting to quantify the immeasurable, to put a price on something that has never been and will never be for sale. Your worth is not a stock ticker that rises and falls with market conditions. It does not fluctuate based on employment status or annual income or how much you have managed to save. It is intrinsic, immutable, written into the fabric of your existence long before you ever earned a single dollar, and it will remain long after the last paycheck is cashed. What is your value? Is it the way you listen when someone needs to be heard? Is it the kindness you offer even when you are empty? Is it the memories you hold, the laughter you've shared, the quiet moments of beauty you've witnessed and carried in your chest like seeds? These are assets no recession can touch. These are riches that cannot be audited or appraised or diminished by a hiring manager's decision. You are not a line item on a budget. You are not a deficit to be corrected. You are a human being whose worth was never, ever for sale. Tonight, close the banking app. Let the numbers fade. You are not defined by what you earn. You are defined by what you are. And what you are is unpriceable, irreplaceable, and infinitely valuable. Regardless of the balance in your account, you are not a commodity. You are a soul, and that has always been enough. But there is something else that needs to be said, something that has gone unacknowledged for far too long. It is this: the strength it has taken you to arrive at this moment, right here, right now, in this bed, is extraordinary. The world celebrates the big wins, the job offers, the promotions, The moments when the confetti falls and the champagne is poured, but the world rarely applauds the invisible marathon you have been running. The quiet, unwitnessed heroism of waking up each morning and pushing the covers off when your body feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. The grit it takes to look at your face in the bathroom mirror, splash cold water on your skin, and manufacture hope from thin air when every application has been met with silence and every interview has ended in rejection. You know this exhaustion intimately. It is the heaviness of gravity when you are depressed, when even the simplest acts, standing, dressing, smiling, require a level of energy you're not sure you have. It is the weight in your fingers as you click apply one more time, filling out one more form, crafting one more cover letter. Even though you have lost count of how many times you've done this before, it is the invisible emotional lift of being your own cheerleader, your own motivational speaker, your own source of encouragement when no one else is watching, when no one else knows how close you are to giving up. You wake up without a map. You walk forward without a guarantee. And yet, you continue, day after day, application after application, breath after breath. This is fortitude. This is endurance. And no one is handing you a medal for it. No one is throwing you a parade. The world does not see the reservoir of strength you draw from every single morning just to face a day that has promised you nothing. Society measures resilience by outcomes, by how quickly you bounce back, by whether you land on your feet, but it does not see the quiet defiance of simply staying upright when everything in you wants to collapse. It does not see the tenacity required to keep hope alive when hope has given you no reason to believe. But I see it, and tonight, I want you to see it too. You think you are weak because you're tired. You think you are failing because the win hasn't come yet. But the fact that you are still here, still trying, still breathing, still willing to face another day, is the victory. That is the quiet triumph that no resume will ever capture. You have not given up, and in a world that has given you every reason to stop, that is not weakness. That is the rarest, most profound form of strength there is. You are not fragile. You are not broken. You are a warrior resting after battle. And even warriors need to lay down their armor and sleep. Tonight, let yourself rest without guilt. You have earned it 1,000 times over. But before you slip fully into sleep, there is one more fear that needs to be addressed. One more lie you have been telling yourself in the silence. It is the fear of rust. The anxiety that whispers. If you are not using your skills every day within the structure of a 9-to-5, they are disappearing, that your abilities are atrophying, that you are losing your edge, your sharpness, your professional identity, that without a contract to validate them, your talents have somehow ceased to exist, or worse, that they are rotting from disuse, turning you into someone who will no longer be capable when the opportunity finally comes. You know this fear intimately. It is the image of a musician's instrument sitting silent in its case, or an artist's brush lying still, dried paint clinging to the bristles. It is the thought that keeps you awake. What if I've forgotten how? What if I'm no longer good at this? What if the gap has made me obsolete? You imagine your skills as something fragile, something that can wither without daily practice. without the validation of a job title, without the structure of employment to give them purpose. And so you lie here, worried that you are becoming dull, irrelevant, less than you were before. But here's the truth. The fear refuses to acknowledge. Your talents are not a rental agreement. They were never leased to you by an employer. A contract is simply a transaction, a company paying for temporary access to the fire that has always burned inside you. They did not give you your intelligence. They did not install your creativity or your problem-solving ability or your capacity to learn and adapt. Those are inherent. They are woven into your neural pathways like muscle memory etched into bone. You carry them in your hands, in your brain, in the reservoir of experience you have accumulated over years. They are yours. They have always been yours. And they do not vanish simply because no one is currently paying for them. Think of it this way. The light does not cease to exist when the room is dark. The electricity is still there, running through the wires, waiting for the flick of the switch. You are the source, the spark, the origin of the light. And even now, in this period of dormancy, the fire of your capability burns on its own fuel. It does not require an audience. It does not need validation from a hiring manager. Your mastery does not disappear just because it is latent. A violinist does not lose the ability to play simply because the concert hall is empty. The skill remains, coiled and ready, waiting for the moment you choose to use it again. You are not rusting. You are resting. And when the time comes, you will remember. Muscle memory does not forget. The fire does not go out. You are still the source of your own light. But there is something else you need to remember. Something you have been forgetting in the darkness of this season. You are not meant to hold that light alone. There are people who love you, who have always loved you, and yet you have been withdrawing from them, pulling away, hiding. It is the instinct to retreat when you feel like you have failed, the shame that makes you let phone calls go to voicemail, archive group chats, decline invitations with vague excuses because you feel you have nothing impressive to report. You have been operating under the belief that you are only worth knowing when you are winning, that you are only allowed to show up when you have good news to share, when your life looks like progress instead of stagnation. You know this urge intimately. It is your phone buzzing on the nightstand with a text from a friend. Thinking of you, let's catch up. And the wave of warmth followed immediately by dread. You want to respond, you want to see them, but you also imagine the inevitable question, how's the job search going? And you cannot bear to say, once again, nothing yet. You have convinced yourself that you are a burden, that you are boring, that without professional success to report, you have nothing valuable to contribute. And so you keep your shoulders hunched, your circle small, your solitude protected, not because you want to be alone, but because you believe you are not worthy of companionship when you are not achieving. But here is what you have forgotten. Real love is not transactional. The people who truly matter, the ones who text you on random Tuesdays, who remember how you take your coffee, who laugh at your jokes even when they're not funny. They are not keeping a scorecard of your achievements. They do not measure your worth in job titles or salary brackets or LinkedIn updates. They care about the rhythm of your breath in the same room. They care about your laugh, your presence, the specific texture of your personality that no one else has. They love you not for what you provide, but for who you are beneath the performance. Unmasked, unpolished, human. Think of it this way. When you picture the people you love most, do you love them because of their resumes? Or do you love them because of the way they make you feel when you are together? Because of their kindness, their humor, their ability to sit with you in silence without needing to fill it? That is the same way they love you. And right now, in this season when you feel like you have nothing to offer, you are still offering the most important thing: yourself, your presence, your kinship. Tonight, let the walls come down. Let the people who love you in. You are not a burden. You are beloved. And the tribe you have been hiding from, they have been waiting for you to come home. You do not need to be successful to be worthy of love. You only need to be you. And there is another world, one you may have forgotten, where that truth is not just accepted, but assumed. It is a world that exists parallel to the one that has exhausted you, the one filled with hiring managers and cover letters and the constant demand to prove your value. It is the natural world, the world of two different rhythms. On one side, the human world, the economy, the deadlines, the LinkedIn profiles, the relentless machinery of judgment and comparison. On the other, the ancient, patient world of sky and earth and water. A world that has been turning long before your first job application and will continue long after your last. And tonight, while the human world feels impossibly heavy, you are invited to step into the other, the one that demands nothing from you. You know this spaciousness, even if you have not visited it in a while. It is the feeling of looking out a window at the moon, round and luminous and utterly indifferent to your employment status. It is standing beneath a tree whose roots reach deeper than any career trajectory you could ever plot. It is the simple presence of a pet resting beside you, a dog's weight against your leg, or a cat's warmth curled into your ribs. Creatures who love you not for what you produce, but for the fact that you are here, breathing, alive. The natural world does not check your credentials. The wind touches your face without asking what you do for a living. The rain falls on you the same as it falls on everyone, executive and unemployed alike, without distinction, without judgment. In the job market, you are a product, a commodity to be assessed and ranked and compared. But here, under the vast canopy of stars, you are something else entirely. You are a living creature, a mammal with a heartbeat and breath and blood moving through your veins in the same rhythm that has sustained life on this planet for billions of years. You are part of an ecosystem that does not require a resume to let you belong. The trees do not care about your gap in employment. They are too busy engaged in the slow, miraculous work of photosynthesis, turning light into life without fanfare, without recognition, without needing anyone to validate their worth. The moon does not check your bank balance before it lights your path. The ground beneath your feet holds you steady, whether you are a CEO or someone who hasn't worked in months. This is the truth the natural world offers. Your existence is not conditional. You do not have to earn your place in the biosphere. You are already here. You are already part of the vastness. And in this cosmic stillness, where the only sound is the organic hum of life continuing, breath in, breath out, tide in, tide out, you are reminded that the human world, with all its demands and measurements, is just one small room in an infinite house. Tonight, step outside, even if only in your mind. Feel the cool night air on your face. Let the enormity of the sky remind you how small and temporary these professional anxieties are. You are not defined by what you produce. You are defined by the fact that you are alive. And that is the only credential the universe has ever required. But there is something else you need permission to do. Something you have been denying yourself without realizing it. It is the permission to feel joy, to savor, to experience pleasure in the small, ordinary moments of being alive. Because somewhere along the way, you internalized a cruel logic that because you are not earning money, you do not deserve to enjoy anything, that you should remain in a state of perpetual penance, denying yourself happiness until you are employed again, as though misery were a form of productivity, as though suffering could somehow accelerate the arrival of good news. You know this guilt intimately. It is the voice that says, "I'll enjoy this later, once I have a job, once I've earned the right." It is the feeling of postponing pleasure, rationing happiness, treating joy as a luxury you cannot afford. You sip your coffee quickly, mechanically, because you feel you do not deserve to savor it. You rush through the shower because you believe rest and comfort are rewards for people who are contributing to the economy. You move through your days in a state of scarcity, convinced that until you are making money, you should not allow yourself to feel rich in any way. But here is what the guilt refuses to acknowledge. The richest experiences of being alive, the ones that nourish you most deeply, cannot be bought, and therefore, they cannot be taken away by a lack of income. This is the unmonetized life, the life that exists outside the marketplace, beyond the reach of capitalism, untouched by your employment status. And it is abundant, overflowing, available to you right now, in this very moment, regardless of the balance in your bank account. Feel the coolness of these sheets against your skin. Notice how they hold you, how the fabric softens with every wash, how your body sinks into the mattress with a heaviness that feels like safety. This is luxury, the sensation of hot water in the shower tomorrow, the way it will relax the muscles in your shoulders, the steam rising around you like a private sanctuary. This is wealth. The smell of coffee or tea rising from a mug you cradle in your hands. The specific warmth of the ceramic anchoring you to the present moment. This is nourishment. The taste of cold water when you are truly thirsty. The way it travels down your throat and makes every cell in your body sigh with relief. This is abundance. These things cost nothing, or almost nothing, and yet they are priceless. You do not need a paycheck to feel the sun on your face when you step outside. You do not need employment to taste your food, to hear music, to notice the way afternoon light slants through a window and paints the floor gold. These sensory pleasures are your birthright. They are inherent to the fact of being alive. And they do not wait for you to be successful before they offer themselves to you. Tonight, let yourself savor. Let the simple act of being here, in this bed, breathing this air, feeling this softness, let it be enough. Let it be a quiet, radical form of wealth that no recession can touch. You are allowed to feel good. Right now, just as you are. But there is one final thing you must release before you can truly rest, and it is perhaps the heaviest burden of all. It is the tyranny of the timeline, the panic that time is running out, the fear that you are behind schedule, that you are wasting precious days, that the silence from the world means you have been forgotten or passed over or left behind while everyone else moves forward. You have been measuring your life against a linear trajectory that insists there is a right time for everything. And because your timing does not match that invisible schedule, you have convinced yourself that something is wrong, that you are failing, that the delay is evidence of your inadequacy. You know this panic intimately. It is the frantic energy of pulling on a locked door until your hands ache, refusing to believe that it might open on its own if you would just stop forcing it. It is the exhaustion of swimming upstream, fighting the current because you believe that stillness equals failure, that if you are not moving forward every single moment, you are falling behind. It is lying awake at night, calculating how much time has passed since your last job, how many months have disappeared into the silence between applications and answers, and wondering if this pause has cost you everything. But here is what the calendar cannot tell you. Your life does not operate on linear time. It operates on deep time, the time of seasons and tides and gestation, the time that governs seeds buried in soil, doing their most important work in the dark where no one can see. To the outside eye, the seed looks dead, stagnant, wasted. But beneath the surface, in the invisible quiet, roots are forming, structures are being built. The seed is preparing for the moment it will break through the earth, not because it forced itself, but because the conditions finally aligned. Maybe you are not stuck. Maybe you are incubating. Maybe the door has not opened yet because the room behind it is not ready for you. Or maybe you are not ready for it. Maybe the job you applied for 6 months ago would have destroyed you. Maybe the silence you interpret as rejection is actually protection. Maybe the universe, or life, or timing, or whatever you want to call the force that governs these things, is holding you back not because you are unworthy, but because it is synchronizing the pieces of a puzzle you cannot yet see. This is not about toxic positivity or pretending that waiting doesn't hurt. It does. But it is about recognizing the difference between a door that is locked because you are being denied, and a door that is locked because it is not yet time. Spring cannot be forced to arrive earlier by worrying about it. It comes when the earth is ready, and you, your breakthrough, your next chapter, will come when the conditions align. Not a moment sooner, not a moment later. Tonight, take your hands off the wheel. Stop trying to force the river to flow faster. The road is holding you. The timing is unfolding. And you are exactly where you need to be, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. Surrender is not giving up. It is finally trusting that you are being carried. And right now, in this moment, You are being carried, not metaphorically, not abstractly, but physically. The mattress beneath you is holding your entire weight. You do not have to support yourself anymore. And yet, your body has not received this message. Your mind knows you are in bed, but your body is still at the desk, still bracing, still wearing the invisible armor of anxiety. The tension you've been carrying for weeks, maybe months, locked into your muscles like a suit of metal you forgot you were wearing. This is the armor that kept you upright during the difficult days. The subconscious bracing that helped you hold it together through rejection emails and unanswered applications. Through interviews where you performed confidence you didn't feel. Through conversations where you smiled and said, "I'm fine," when you were anything but. Your body has been working overtime to protect you, to keep you standing, to prevent you from collapsing under the weight of everything you've been carrying. But tonight, the armor is no longer needed. Tonight, you have permission to let it fall. Bring your attention to your jaw. Notice how it is clenched, how the teeth are pressed together, the muscles tight, holding firm as though you are still keeping words locked inside. Words of frustration, of fear, of exhaustion you haven't been allowed to speak. Your jaw has been the gatekeeper, the place where you hold it all in so you don't crumble in public. But here, in the privacy of this darkness, you can unclench. Let there be space between your teeth. Let the tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Let the tension dissolve like ice melting into water. Your jaw does not need to be strong right now. It can be soft, heavy, loose. Now shift your awareness to your shoulders. Notice how they have crept up toward your ears, hunched forward in the anatomical posture of protection, shielding your heart, guarding your chest, curling inward from hours spent staring at screens, waiting for news that hasn't come. Your shoulders have been carrying the weight of uncertainty, holding themselves tight as though they could somehow prevent the next blow. But tonight, let them drop. Imagine a heavy coat sliding off your back and falling to the floor with a soft thud. Let gravity take them. Let them sink down, away from your neck, releasing the micro-tensions that have been living there unnoticed. And your hands, are they clenched? Fists ready to fight? Or fingers curled tight, holding on? Let them open. Let the palms unfurl. There is nothing you need to grasp right now, nothing to hold on to. Let your hands rest, heavy and neutral, no longer soldiers, but simply parts of you that are allowed to be still. Give your entire weight to gravity. Let the bed rise up to meet you so you don't have to hold yourself up anymore. Let every muscle that has been working to keep you together finally rest. The armor is off. The battle is paused. And your body, tired, brave, faithful body, is allowed to be heavy now. Sink, soften, dissolve. You are being carried. The body has finally logged off. The muscles have released. The armor has fallen. The physical weight has surrendered to gravity. But the mind is still online, still glowing, still running in the background like a browser that never sleeps, draining your battery even when you aren't actively using it. Your body is in bed, but your brain is still refreshing the inbox, still cycling through the same mental tabs you've had open for days. maybe weeks. The waiting for a reply tab, the replaying the interview tab, the did I say the right thing tab, the LinkedIn notification tab that you check compulsively even though you know there's nothing new. Your mind is cluttered, overheating, and you can almost hear the internal cooling fan whirring desperately, trying to keep up with the processing load of your anxiety. Tonight, it's time to close them, one by one, methodically, with intention. Visualize your mind as a screen, bright, glowing, crowded with windows you forgot you left open. See the tab where you are obsessively checking your email, refreshing the page over and over as though the act of checking could summon a response. You have kept this tab open because some part of you believes that if you look just one more time, good news will appear. But tonight, the inbox is empty, and it will remain empty until morning. There is nothing you can do about it now. So move the cursor, slowly, to the small X in the corner of that window. Click it. Watch the window disappear. Feel the relief as that particular loop of worry dissolves into the void. It is gone. Now see the tab where you are replaying the last interview. The one where you stumbled over a question, or forgot to mention a key qualification, or smiled too much or not enough. You have been running this footage on a loop, analyzing every word, every pause, every micro expression, convinced that if you review it enough times, you can somehow change the outcome. But you cannot. The interview is over. The words have already been spoken. The decision is out of your hands. So close this tab too. Click the X. Let the static clear. Let the replay stop. It is done. And the tab where you are scrolling LinkedIn, watching other people's wins, measuring yourself against their timelines, feeling the sharp sting of comparison, close it. The curator's gallery of curated success. It does not need to follow you into sleep. Click. Gone. The notification tab. The one that pings with phantom vibrations even when your phone is silent. Close it. The what if scenario tab. The one running endless simulations of your financial future. Close it. The should have, could have, why didn't I tab? Close it. One by one, reclaim the bandwidth of your mind. Clear the cache of today's worries. Watch the screen grow darker with each window that closes, the latency slowing, the processing quieting, until finally, the browser shuts down completely, the glow fades, the fan stops whirring, and what remains is not emptiness, but stillness. The satisfying silence of a system that has been given permission to rest. You are offline now. The digital world cannot reach you here. And in this powered down darkness, you are free. But freedom can feel empty without a place to inhabit. So let us build something. Let us construct a sanctuary, not from memory, but from imagination, a specific place that exists only for you, where the noise of the world cannot follow, where your identity dissolves, and where the only requirement for entry is that you are breathing. This is the sanctuary of no identity, and it has one rule: work does not exist here. LinkedIn does not exist here. Resumes, job titles, salary negotiations, interview anxiety, none of it can pass through these walls. This is a place where no one knows your name, where no one asks what you do for a living, where you are not expected to be anything other than a body resting in space. Let yourself walk toward it now. See the narrow path through the woods, or the boardwalk leading to a quiet beach house, or the stone steps ascending to a library tucked into the hills. The light is soft, afternoon sun filtering through trees, or the amber glow of a lamp in a window. You approach the door. It is heavy, old wood, weathered and solid. You push it open, and it swings inward with a low, comforting creak. Step inside. The air smells like cedar and rain, or perhaps old books and candle wax. The floorboards are smooth beneath your feet, worn by decades of footsteps that came before you, each one carrying their own weight, their own story, and then leaving it behind when they crossed this threshold. The room is warm, not from heat, but from atmosphere. There is a fireplace crackling softly in the corner, or the sound of rain tapping gently on the roof. A rhythm so steady it feels like a lullaby. Dust motes drift lazily through a beam of light, unbothered, timeless, as though they have been floating here since the beginning of the world. And there, in the center of the room, is a chair, deep, wide, upholstered in something soft, velvet, perhaps, or worn leather that has molded itself to the shape of every person who has ever sat there. You move toward it. You lower yourself into it. And the moment your body sinks into the cushions, something shifts. The weight you have been carrying, the invisible burden of expectation, of performance, of having to be on. It slides off your shoulders and disappears into the floor. The chair holds you completely. You do not have to hold yourself. Outside, the world continues, but it cannot find you here. There's no Wi-Fi, no reception, no way for the inbox to reach you, no way for the job boards to call your name. You are anonymous here, unperceived, untethered from every label you've worn, every role you've played. You are not unemployed. You are not a job seeker. You are simply a person in a room, breathing, existing, safe. Let yourself stay here. Let the shadows be friendly. Let the silence be a refuge. This place will hold you as long as you need. But there is one more thing you must release before sleep can truly take you. It is the tight grip, the desperate, invisible act of trying to steer tomorrow with the force of your worry. You have been holding the future in your fists, believing that if you think hard enough, plan hard enough, worry intensely enough, you can somehow control the outcome of your job search, that your vigilance will bend the trajectory of events in your favor, that if you stay awake just a little longer, run through one more scenario, refresh the inbox one more time, you can change what is coming, but you cannot. You are trying to steer a river with your bare hands, and it is exhausting, and it changes nothing about the water's course. So tonight, let me offer you a different image. Let yourself drift from the chair in the sanctuary to another place entirely. Imagine you are lying on your back in a slow, wide river. The water is dark, not the frightening dark of the unknown, but the soft, velvet dark of warm summer nights. It moves with a steady, ancient power beneath you, a current that has been flowing long before you entered it and will continue long after you leave. You do not need to swim. You do not need to kick or paddle or fight to stay afloat. The water holds you. It cradles your head, fills your ears with the muffled hum of its movement, and lifts your limbs into weightlessness. For months, you have been rowing upstream, pushing against the current with every application, every follow-up email, every forced smile in an interview. You have been expending energy trying to force the river to take you where you want to go, faster than it is willing to move. But tonight, the oars are heavy, your arms are tired, and the current is patient, relentless, indifferent to your resistance. So put the oars down. Let them drift away downstream, spinning lazily in the flow until they disappear from view. You do not need them anymore. Notice how you are trying to mentally steer tomorrow. You are lying here, but your mind is already navigating the morning, rehearsing the words you will say, calculating the odds, imagining the email that might arrive or the one that won't. But you cannot control the recruiter's decision. You cannot manifest a job offer through sheer force of will. Your rowing is done. The applications have been sent. The interviews have been given. The only thing left to do is wait. And waiting does not require steering. Trust the current. The river knows where it is going, even if you do not. You are not lost. You are being carried. You are not sinking. You are floating. And there is a profound relief in realizing you are not the captain of this ocean. You are just driftwood, happy, finally, to be carried, to let the inevitable momentum of your life unfold without your constant interference, to surrender the illusion that your worry has any power over what comes next. Let go. Let the water hold you. Let the current take you downstream, wherever it is going, without needing to know the destination. You are safe in this flow, and tomorrow will arrive whether you control it or not. So tonight, just float, just breathe, just be held. And as you float, as you allow yourself to be carried by the current, let this realization settle into your bones. This doing nothing is not nothing. This surrender is not passivity. This rest, this quiet, unglamorous act of closing your eyes and releasing the day is the most important work you will do tonight. Perhaps the most important work you have done in weeks. You think you are doing nothing. You feel guilty for lying here, for letting go, for choosing sleep when there's no job to wake up for in the morning. The voice in your head whispers that rest is wasted time, that you should be doing something, anything, to move the needle forward. But that voice is wrong. Rest is not the absence of productivity. Rest is a different kind of productivity. It is biological maintenance. It is the quiet, essential infrastructure of being alive. Right now, as you lie here in the dark, your body is working, not in the way the world measures work, not in outputs or deliverables or measurable progress, but in the profound, invisible labor of repair. Your cells are knitting themselves back together, mending the microscopic damage caused by months of stress and anxiety. Your brain is washing away the toxins that accumulated during the day, flushing out the neural debris of rejection emails and comparison spirals and financial worry. The glymphatic system, the body's overnight cleaning crew, is moving through your mind like a soft tide, clearing the pathways, restoring clarity, preparing you for tomorrow in ways you cannot see but will feel when you wake. Think of it this way. You are a ship in dry dock. For months, you have been out at sea, battered by waves, taking on water, patching leaks while still trying to sail forward. But a ship cannot repair itself while it is still in motion. It must come to shore. It must rest in stillness while the hull is inspected, the damaged planks replaced, the barnacles scraped away. Tonight, you are in dry dock, and the work being done here, the quiet, unglamorous work of restoration, is what will allow you to sail again when the time comes. So, let me give you a new job description, just for tonight. Your shift starts now. Your only task is to close your eyes. Your only deliverable is to breathe slowly and let your body recalibrate. You are clocking in to the most essential job there is, the job of being a living organism that requires rest to function. This is not laziness. This is fuel. This is the restorative work that makes everything else possible. You cannot job hunt with a broken engine. You cannot interview with a mind that has not slept. You cannot navigate the uncertainty of tomorrow if you do not allow your body to rebuild its resilience tonight. Rest is not optional. It is not a luxury you earn after success. It is the foundation upon which all success is built. So tonight, enter the quiet workshop of the night. Let your spirit be restocked. Let your courage be rebuilt. This is your assignment. This is your contribution, and you are doing it perfectly, simply by being here, breathing, letting go. Your shift has begun, and all you have to do is rest. But now, even the word shift begins to lose its meaning. Even the concept of work, even restorative work, starts to fade. Because you are moving beyond effort now, beyond intention, beyond the boundaries of who you thought you needed to be. This is the moment where you leave the professional self at the door, where you take off the name tag that reads job seeker and set it down on the shore, along with the heavy coat that holds all your career worries, the resume in one pocket, the interview anxiety in another, the financial calculations weighing down the hem. You step out of it, you leave it behind, and you push the boat out into the dark water without it. Let go of the title, candidate. Watch the word dissolve into the darkness like sugar in warm water. It has no meaning here. The language of business, the vocabulary of recruiters and offers and rejection, is a foreign tongue that is no longer spoken in this room. The economy is a distant hum, fading now, growing quieter with every breath. The job market is a shoreline disappearing into the mist behind you, shrinking smaller and smaller until it is nothing but a faint line on an invisible horizon. And you are drifting further out into deeper water, where the worries cannot reach you. They are too far away. You are unreachable now. Notice how the edges of your body are beginning to blur. Where does your skin end and the bed begin? It is no longer clear. You are melting into the mattress, dissolving into the sheets, becoming indistinguishable from the darkness that surrounds you. Your breath is slowing, deepening. Each exhale is heavier than the last, pulling you down, down into the velvet quiet beneath thought. The room is silent. Not the silence of waiting, but the silence of deep space, the silence of the bottom of the ocean, the ancient, nameless silence that existed before language, before industry, before resumes were ever written. You are not unemployed here. You are not employed. You are not a professional or a candidate or a worker. You are simply a breathing thing, suspended in the dark, held by forces older than capitalism, cradled by a rhythm that has nothing to do with productivity. This is the place where you are not defined, not measured, not judged. This is the subconscious deep, where identity ceases and only existence remains. Let yourself drift further. Let the last thread of awareness unravel. The worries are gone. The future is gone. Even the past is fading, losing its grip, becoming soft and irrelevant. There is only this, the rise and fall of your chest, the warmth of the covers, the weight of your body sinking into something softer than sleep. You are crossing the threshold now, leaving the waking world behind, and on the other side, there are no emails, no applications, no anxiety, only the deep, dreamless rest of a soul that has finally let go. You are drifting into the ancient, nameless dark, where you are not a worker, not a seeker, just a dreamer, safe, held, free, and now, sleep. The shoreline is gone now. The job search, the anxiety, the applications, the waiting, it is all behind you, fading into the mist like a distant continent you no longer need to reach tonight. The tide has carried you far from that place, and here, in this deep water, in this quiet suspension, you are safe from its demands. Your stillness was not emptiness, it was gestation, the invisible work you did today, surviving the uncertainty, breathing through the fear, enduring the silence. That was valid labor. You are not behind. You are in a winter season, and winter is not failure. It is the necessary quiet before spring, the seed buried in frozen ground, doing its most important work in the dark where no one can see. And now, you are here, in this room, this sanctuary. Feel the heavy, comforting weight of the blanket holding you like the earth holds roots. The velvet darkness wraps around you, a cocoon where the economy cannot enter, where the inbox has no power, where you are allowed to simply be a body that breathes, drifting now, sinking, dissolving into the ancient quiet. The mattress rises to meet you. Gravity pulls you down, heavy, safe, held. Your breath slows, the world fades, and you, brave soul, tired traveler, quiet warrior, you are finally free to rest. The search is over. The waiting is paused. You are enough. Safe now. Rest now. You are enough.